Welcome to Biology. I'm Paul Suchecki, and this is my classroom. It's great to see everybody's smiling face today. Today's topic is photosynthesis. See, I got a lot of plants in the back. I really like plants. Actually, I'm kind of a botanist. But of course, who doesn't like plants? Plants keep us alive. Plants give us food. Plants give us oxygen. It's like asking, who doesn't like puppies? Everybody likes puppies. And everybody likes plants. Plants are like puppies, without the mess. We can't live without plants. Plants could live just fine without us. If all the plants in the world died, we wouldn't be able to live. We would eventually run out of food. We'd run out of oxygen. If all the humans in the world died, the plants would do just fine without us. Matter of fact, they'd probably throw a big party. Photosynthesis has been called the most important chemical reaction there is. It's where all of our food comes from, either directly or indirectly. It's where all of our breathable oxygen comes from. I don't know about you, but I like food and I like oxygen. Plants and other autotrophic organisms take in carbon dioxide and water. With the help of sunlight and a green pigment called chlorophyll, they produce glucose and oxygen. The oxygen is released into the atmosphere and becomes part of the 21% of the oxygen that we breathe that sustains aerobic respiration and keeps us alive. The glucose becomes stored chemical energy. The plant can use it to fuel its own metabolic processes. Energy is the ability to do work. I'm no lawyer, but according to the first law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but it can be changed from one form to another. Plants don't create energy. They simply convert sunlight energy into chemical energy in the form of glucose. I think that's legal. Photosynthesis is an endothermic chemical reaction. That means it absorbs energy. It requires an input of energy to make it happen. And this energy, of course, comes from sunlight. The reactants of photosynthesis are carbon dioxide and water, and they hold very little free energy. During photosynthesis, sunlight energy is absorbed and stored in the bonds that hold glucose together. The product of photosynthesis, glucose, has lots of stored free energy. When plants need energy, they break down the glucose in cell respiration and use that energy to drive their own metabolic processes. And of course, animals can eat the glucose, release the energy to drive their metabolic processes. Of course, those animals are eaten by other animals, and this starts what scientists call a food chain. And energy is passed from one link in the food chain to another. But it all starts with photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the base of just about every food chain. Without photosynthesis, there'd be no food chain. Photosynthesis is complicated, but plants can do it because they have chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a green, light-absorbing pigment used to gather sunlight. So why is chlorophyll green and not red or blue or some other color? Sunlight is not one color. Sunlight is a mixture of all colors. You remember my friend Roy G. Biv? Yeah, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Colors of the rainbow. Light travels in waves, and each color travels at a different wavelength. Sunlight is a mixture of all wavelengths. When sunlight hits an object, some of the wavelengths are absorbed, and some of the wavelengths are reflected. You don't see the wavelengths that are absorbed. You only see the ones that are reflected. So if you're looking at a blue object, all the wavelengths except blue are absorbed, blue is reflected, and it hits your eye and it appears blue. Well, it turns out that chlorophyll, which is green, absorbs most wavelengths except green. Actually, chlorophyll absorbs red and blue wavelengths of light best. Chlorophyll reflects green. That's why it looks green. Chlorophyll is located in organelles called chloroplasts. This is where photosynthesis takes place. The chloroplast has two membranes, an outer and an inner membrane. Within the chloroplast, there's a liquid called stroma, and suspended in this stroma are membranous discs known as thylakoids. The chlorophyll is located in the membrane of the thylakoids. A stack of thylakoids is called a granum, and chloroplasts are loaded with them. Some people think the thylakoids look like little green coins. I think they look like little green candies, but that's just because I like candy. Early in the morning, plants hold their leaves out, waiting for a beam of sunlight to strike their chlorophyll and start the amazing process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis can be divided into two sets of chemical reactions. The first set we call the light-dependent reactions, or just the light reactions. The second set of chemical reactions are called the light-independent reactions, or the dark reactions. The light reactions require light. The dark reactions don't. The light reaction starts when sunlight strikes chlorophyll and excites an electron. This electron gets so excited that it actually leaves the chlorophyll molecule and attaches to a primary electron acceptor. The primary electron acceptor passes that electron on, kind of like a football. The electron gets passed through an electron transport chain in the thylakoid membrane. As it's passed through the electron transport chain, it gives up its energy. It gets less excited to form a reduced chemical called NADPH. We'll deal with the NADPH later. Hold on to that for now. Meanwhile, in another part of the photosystem, a water molecule is being split into hydrogen and oxygen by a process called photolysis. The oxygen is liberated. That is, it's allowed to escape into the atmosphere. By the way, did I mention that's where all of our breathable oxygen comes from? It's the H's that are needed. The chloroplasts need the H's. The hydrogen atoms are then split into protons and electrons. The electrons are used to replace the excited electrons that were lost from the chlorophyll back in step 1. Without these replacement electrons, the whole process would come to a grinding halt. Now, the protons are passed through the thylakoid membrane and are stored in a space within the thylakoid called the lumen. The buildup of these protons represents potential energy, kind of like water behind a dam. As the protons build up, more energy is stored. This energy is harnessed during a process called chemiosmosis, where energy-rich ATP molecules are formed. During chemiosmosis, the accumulated protons pass through an enzyme called ATP synthase. ATP synthase can attach a third phosphate to ADP to form ATP, storing potential energy. ATP synthase is an enzyme that generates ATP. The energy from sunlight is now stored in ATP. But we're not done yet. It's only halftime. In the next set of reactions, called the dark reaction, we're going to use that energy in ATP to build a glucose molecule from the ground up, from carbon dioxide and water. The dark reaction, also called the Calvin cycle, was named in honor of Dr. Melvin Calvin, a biochemist from Minnesota who discovered the metabolic pathways involved in photosynthesis. The dark reaction, or the Calvin cycle, occurs in 3 steps. The first step is called CO2 uptake. Second, carbon reduction. And third, RuBP Regeneration. In the first step, a carbon atom from carbon dioxide is joined to a 5-carbon compound called ribulose bisphosphate, or RuBP for short. This forms a 6-carbon compound that quickly breaks down into 2 3-carbon compounds called PGA. But now, the carbon is fixed. It's not like the carbon was ever broken. What it means is now it's attached. To fix something means to attach it. And so when they talk about carbon being fixed, they mean it's now attached to something else. Carbon fixation. I hope I don't develop a carbon fixation. Anyway, end of the first step. In the second step, 2 3-carbon compounds of PGA are joined together, along with a phosphate from ATP and some hydrogen from NADPH, to form a glucose molecule. Now the carbon atoms in PGA are reduced. That is, they've gained free energy. That energy came from the ATP and the NADPH that were formed during the light reaction. Glucose has been formed, and that's the final product of photosynthesis. But we've got some cleaning up to do. In another multi-step pathway, 6 5-carbon compounds of RuBP are formed from the bits and pieces left over in step 2. And then the RuBP is reused back in step 1. That's why it's called RuBP Regeneration. Wow, you still there? This biochemistry stuff is pretty complicated. I guess that's why it took a brilliant scientist like Calvin to figure it all out. All right, for all you biochemists out there, let's wrap this up, huh? Let's summarize. Photosynthesis is divided into 2 sets of reactions, the light reaction and the dark reaction. The light reaction takes 12 H2Os and 12 NADPs. Add 18 ADPs and 18 inorganic phosphate molecules. This produces 6 O2s, 12 NADPHs, and 18 ATPs. The dark reaction takes those 12 NADPHs and 18 ATPs, along with 6 CO2s, to produce one molecule of glucose, C6H12O6, plus 12 NADPs, 18 ADPs, and 18 inorganic phosphates, which can all be reused in the light reaction. In addition, 6 H2Os are produced. So to boil it all down and to make it even simpler, photosynthesis takes 6 CO2s and 6 H2Os to produce one C6H12O6 and 6 O2s. Like I said, photosynthesis is pretty complicated, and if you let it, it can overwhelm you. So don't let it overwhelm you. Your assignment is not to do photosynthesis. The plant's already got that covered. So just relax, take a deep breath, and enjoy the oxygen that the plants are giving off. Hey, thanks for hanging in there. I'm going to stop there for today. So until next time, remember, don't get lost. Have a great day. See you next time.